there, Prabhu?
Yeah, I'm Prabhu. Hi.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you in this way. Anyway, I just check out you have a little studio right over there.
Yeah, this is just where I practice, and I've got some a PA set up. What I do for practice is I play karaoke Descendents, and I just sing along to karaoke Descendents. That's what the big speakers are for. And then I've got all my guitars there that I jam out on. And then behind the door on the right, I've got a little like studio space that's really just suitable for vocals. You know, you wouldn't ever want to play the drums in there or anything, but you can do some direct guitar, and you can do some vocals, and that's about all I want to do anyway. So yeah.
So do you record your solo stuff in your home?
Yeah. So the stuff I've done recently on ukulele, I've done all in this little studio.
Ukulele.
Yeah. I've been doing like my solo stuff to this point. It's just been me with a ukulele or a variety of ukuleles, playing songs that could be Descendant songs, but for whatever reason, I decided no, they'd be better on the uke, or maybe I want to put them out quicker, and so I might want to play them myself as opposed to having the band play it. So
it's like to listen to that stuff. I'm really waiting for it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's a uke album coming out in October. Not an album, it's a single. And yeah, and it's called Rebuke, and
Rebuke.
and it's going to be me playing a bunch of ukulele. So yeah.
Discuss the deep. This is where we discuss the deep cuts.
Yeah, that kind of thing, the uncensored and raw part. So you've never done any interview with Indonesian press or whatsoever before?
I don't think so. No.
That's insane. Like, I don't know, like you guys are really big in here actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but
makes me want to come. Makes me want to come out there for sure.
Yeah, but back in the days, like 10 or 15 years ago, you guys are not that. You guys were not that well recognized, I guess. But
right.
Like internet came in, and everyone just got into you guys. So yeah, and some bands, like some big bands in here, they always like wear your shirt, Descendant shirt, on their video clips, or like when they play live. So maybe that's the part like people started recognizing Descendants in here, I guess.
Yeah, I mean we've always appreciated it and been grateful for when people, other bands. Well, they don't even have to name drop. It's like you said, they might wear a shirt of ours, and that's enough because people will look at that and get curious. Hey, what's that band all about? I mean, that's been the story of our band ever since the mid '90s, right? Because Green Day, Offspring, they were wearing our merch, or they would mention this in interviews, and I think it's been really. I mean, I have to give them a lot of credit for informing people and reinvigorating punk rock, and also just allowing people to then discover, to go off on little branches and discover other bands that might be tangentially related to them. So
but you got laid off from DuPont?
Yeah, that was in 2016. I got laid off at DuPont.
I just found out now.
Yeah. So I was there for about 15 years, and I actually was pretty relieved when it actually happened, because I wasn't really enjoying myself that much there.
Wait, what?
I wasn't in
science.
The thing is I mean, the first couple of years I was at DuPont, it was a magical place. It was just I was doing so many great experiments, and things were going great. It was like very exciting. But then it's a corporation, and they kind of call the shots. They kind of tell you what to do, and they kind of refocused me in a different area. They put me off of one project and on another project, and that was the beginning of the end for me. I was just kind of like, I'm not that interested anymore. This isn't really doing it for me. And so when they laid me off, at the time I was playing with the band, and I just thought, well, I'll just be a musician then. You know, may as well make a career out of it at this point. So that was the idea.
So how long have you worked in DuPont?
I was there for 15 years.
Wow.
And before that, I was kind of a postdoctoral researcher. I had been doing research in biology ever since 1987. So that means another 13 years, or no, another 25 or 26 years before that. I was doing research. So it was a long haul. It's funny because to this day I don't necessarily miss it. I don't feel like I'm like yearning to go back to it or anything. So I'll just kind of roll with the music for a while. Right now, music's kind of in a bit of a trough because nobody can play shows, but I'm just going to ride it out and, keep going with it when we can play again. So, yeah.
This point of your life is like the contradiction of I quit, I guess.
Yeah. It's weird. I mean, it is, because I wrote those lyrics and thought, well, I'd never be doing this at age 50 or especially not at age 60 or 50 or 60 just seemed like out of this world. Like, why, like this didn't even seem like reality. It didn't seem like anything that would actually happen. And yet here I am. And I think, it's funny. I just think whatever you do, you make your own challenges. And that's what kind of keeps it interesting, is if it's challenging. So when I got back in when I had to leave my job at DuPont and became a full-time career musician, that's when I felt like, well, I've got all these new challenges that these challenges that I hadn't really embraced before. Like, how do you become professional, or how do you make a career out of music, and how do you stay in there for the long haul? And so I kind of tried to solve some of those issues, and so that's where I'm at with COVID, is like the new challenge is how do you persist and come and emerge out the other side of this awful pandemic, and still be kind of like ready to rock, basically. And that's the challenge, and I'm sure that's the challenge that all musicians are facing right now.
Talking about like this pathway of job and music, actually I've been there too. Like I played in a band. I play in the band right now for like 12 years or so. So back in the days, I always thought like, oh, maybe I should like focus on my job instead of music, because punk rock doesn't pay the bill whatsoever, like that.
Right.
Yeah. But in the end, like I just need to play music to keep me sane. I guess like that's the easiest part, right?
Well, that's exactly what my realization was over the many, many years, because for many, many years, that's what it was.
It's always like that.
Music and science. And every time I would leave music and get immersed into the science, there was elements that were very rewarding in that, but there was also elements that were where I felt like I wasn't being allowed to kind of grow, creatively grow, or have a creative outlet. And so that's kind of where I was always coming back to music, because obviously I missed it. Every time I leave, I'd miss it. I'd have to come back to it later and try to pick it up. And so it's the same kind of thing. It's music can be very addictive. It can be very it draws you in, and it's something where you can't shake it off sometimes. Once you catch the bug, you can't really shake it off. So that's kind of where I am with music too.
How was your high school time back in the days? I mean, like this is the funniest part, I think. I mean, like the Descendents like promote the nerdy look in punk rock, like it's some kind of like make geeky look popular, I guess. I mean, like some people think like it's cool to wear glasses, even though you don't have problem with your eyes if you're not nearsighted, so they wear glasses. So how was your high school time? Like, was you really like a geek back in the days like that?
Oh yeah, I was a geek. I was a nerd. And back then it wasn't cool.
True.
So you know, I think I spent the first, I'm thinking 2.5 years of high school kind of just trying to lay low and just not kind of like, not expose myself to the barbs and arrows of all of my peers. And so, but after a while, I just was like, why do I care? Why should I care what someone thinks of me? Why should I care that this person thinks I'm a geek, or that I'm, you know, that I'm a nerd, or I'm not cool. I'm not cool. And that's about when I got into punk rock. It kind of coincided. Like, got into punk rock and realized, you know, hey, fuck y'all, you know. So and that was the best thing for me. And part of me is just kind of embracing that side of myself, like just saying, be who you are, was me saying like, I'm going to celebrate that I'm a geek. I'm going to celebrate that I'm a nerd. And that's what I put into the music. The music became this outlet for me just to kind of be like this, you know, spaz or whatever, just kind of, you know, flailing about on stage. And you know, I think in the end, I think that's what I'm most proud of, is that, you know, we didn't play the rock star game of we got to look cool and wear the nice clothes. Yeah, we wanted to be ourselves. And if being ourselves meant we were just going to go on stage and just be these geeks, that's the way it was going to go down. And that to me, that's probably the proudest thing. The thing I'm most proud of, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, personally, that's the charm of the Descendents, I guess. When I discovered you guys, you know, so I feel like there's this band which the sound resonates to my whole life as, you know, a geek or whatsoever. I didn't fit in at school, you know, like I can't do sports to this day, you know. So, you know, when your music and I see the image of the Descendants, like, this is the band that I'm looking for, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's like me. That was like me with Devo, because Devo, they're like the king of the nerds, you know.
Mark Mothersbaugh,
yeah,
that's
they're great.
awesome. Video when you did the interview with Rolling Stone, like the first show that you went was Black Flag.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm counting that as my first. I think prior to that, I'd seen like no-name band, a couple no-name bands at like not at festivals. I'm thinking like, you know how like your hometown will throw a farmer's market. And there'll be some like plinky band there. I'm not count. You don't count that. But but Black Flag was the first band where I saw them, and they were like an actual, you know, band that was going places, basically. And that was at they played this show at this place called Pollywog Park, and they started like a little mini riot. It was really a food fight more than anything else. People throwing food at them, and them throwing food back at the people. And so that was kind of fun, because it was like my first show, and there's this food fight happening in the middle of it. It had a big impression on me, but I actually was not even aware. I wasn't even that knowledgeable about their music, and it kind of went over my head. I was kind of like, whoa. Because I was still listening to Devo at the time, you know. So it took me a while to go, oh, that when I heard Black Flag for the first time on record, I thought, oh, I saw those guys, yeah. And so it took a while to sink in.
I'm wondering, which one do you prefer, the My War, the radio version, or like the album version?
Oh, there's two versions of My War.
Yeah, My War, the song. You know that?
I mean, I've heard the album version. What's the other version?
There's so Dez was on vocal, if I'm not mistaken, and Chuck Biscuit is still on drum. Yeah.
Have I heard that? I'm not sure I've heard that. But you know what? I would always prefer the Dez version. I mean, I got all the respect in the world for Henry, but Dez is my man. Dez is the. I mean, I just, you know, and you know, I think Keith is great. They're all the singers are great. Keith, Ron, Henry, they're all great. But yeah, Chavo, Ron. Yeah. But I mean, but Dez, he was the one that did it for me. He's just the one, because I think he brought the lyrics to the most aggressive place they could be. You know, I mean, Keith was snotty, and Ron Chavo was snotty, but Dez was just in your face, like sand, you know, sandpaper, you know, just coughing. I felt like if you were to sing, and if you were to sing in your face, you'd have like lung chunks on you or something at the end of it, you know? So yeah, so he was the man for me.
I saw the video when you played as a 5-piece when Frank and Ray were still in the band.
Yep.
Yeah. So people threw food at you, right? And then you just ate the food.
Oh, is that a video? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So anyway, what was the strangest thing that God ever thrown when you played the stage?
Well, have we ever gotten panties? I don't know. I don't know if we ever gotten panties. Yeah, I guess it was people sometimes throw up packets of coffee, which is great.
Oh.
You know, like they throw coffee up, I go, hey, thanks. You know, I can always use more coffee. You know, so I think probably, you know, that's something that I could see people throwing up is people have done that with coffee. But yeah, I prefer that over beer. Don't throw me a beer; it's going to hit me in the head.
Do you still drink coffee to this day?
Yeah. I still drink. Well, I'm a daily addict. I have to have my few cups in the morning, but when we play, it gets to another level.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be drinking the same amount of coffee every day that I drink when I play. When we play, I may have like 5 or 6 cups of coffee before I go on stage, and that's just because, you know, it's part of our ritual. It's part of it's part of kind of keeping up with your bandmates. Because if Bill goes, hey, I'm going to go drink 10 espressos, then you're like, oh boy, I can't go on stage if he's like that, and I'm like on 3 espressos, you know. So you kind of have to. It's a bit of a one-upmanship where you know, if Bill drinks a lot of coffee, then I'm going to drink a lot of coffee, because, you know, he's playing it fast, and if I don't drink enough, I'm not going to be able to play it as fast as he's going to play it. Like everyone's got to have the same caffeine level to make it be as tight as possible.
About coffee, you know, I watched Filmage, and then Bill explained the coffee recipe back for the Descendents back in the days, like 10 spoons of sugar, and like, you know, it was like one. So it was true. Was it true?
Yeah, because you have to realize back then you couldn't get your Starbucks espresso. It just wasn't, you know. So think about what, you know, like, so he used to go out fishing with his friend Pat, and now Pat was kind of a druggie. He was taking amphetamines, and Bill's like, you know, so he had the same problem like what I'm talking about with my band, where you got to keep whoever you're with, you got to keep up with what they're doing. Like they were fishing together, and so like if you're fishing with someone else and they're like fish, and he's not at the same level, then I think he'd feel kind of like, oh, I'm slowing this guy down. So he felt like, well, I'm not going to do the amphetamines. That's not my bag, but I'm going to drink like coffee. And he tries a regular coffee, like a 7-Eleven coffee or whatever, and it's just like, bleh. It doesn't do anything. It's like brown water. So, he says, well, I got to invent something that's going to do me right. And that's where he invented the bonus cup. That's the bonus cup is you fill a mug up like halfway with instant coffee. And then you pour the water in, and it does make kind of a sludgy mud.
Yeah, thick substance, right?
And then you just got to pound that down, and and you got to hope that you don't throw up or whatever. And then that worked for him, and that we did that for many years until basically like craft coffee got invented, until Starbucks came around. You know, I remember playing certain cities where, this is prior to Starbucks, we'd seek out the Italian restaurants in those towns, because you could get an espresso at the Italian restaurants. That's the only place you could get an espresso back then. And so we do espressos from whatever the Italian restaurant was. And then of course Starbucks came along and all the other branches of that, and my life's been golden ever since. Tony
Lombardo.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen him. I think I probably saw him last when we did the entire Milo Goes to College record at Riot Fest. Yeah, that might have been the last time I saw him. But he's always a great time to be. It's always a great time to be with him. You know, and actually he and Bill and Frank recorded a bunch of early Descendents songs.
Oh yeah, the Ride the Wild 7-inch, right?
Yeah, but I mean, after they did that, they had worked up a bunch of new material.
Mm-hmm.
And this is right before I joined. So I joined, and by the time I joined, they'd already put out Ride the Wild,
Mm-hmm.
Hectic World, and they'd started practicing all these new songs, and I played on some of them, but most of those fell by the wayside. They didn't make it onto Milo Goes to College. They're just these hit. It's this whole batch of songs that bridges Ride the Wild with Fatty P, Milo Goes to College, that middle period where they had all these songs. So they finally recorded those in like 2002. So, you know, maybe almost 20 years ago, but still they recorded those. And as the three of them, Frank, Tony, Bill, and Bill said, you know, whenever you want to sit down and record the vocals on these, go for it. And so during COVID, I thought, well, this is the time to do it. So I think.
So you were working on that?
Yeah, I've been working on that.
Wow.
I think it's about 18 or 19 songs that, like I said, these are songs that are post Ride the Wild, but pre Fatty P, basically.
That's
rad. They're really interesting songs. I mean, they're just they sound exactly like you think they'd sound for being in between those two periods. And I don't know why we stopped playing them, except that we just started drinking too much coffee, basically. Once you start drinking too much coffee, you know, that's how you end up with a Fatty P, right? I mean, you go from Ride the Wild to the Fatty P. What's the difference? I mean, it's basically just a ton of caffeine, basically. So that's why these songs probably got phased out. But some of them are really, really good songs. I mean, most of them they're all songs that Frank and Tony wrote, basically. So we're looking to put that on like an album of Frank, Tony songs from 1978, 1979, basically. Yeah.
My favorite part of the Village stuff is the Tony segment, you know.
Yeah, because he's a character. He's so funny. I mean, when I look at that movie, the scene stealers are Bill and Tony.
Yeah, true.
Bill steals the scenes because he's so funny.
Yeah.
But he also had this whole story with his dad and everything. So he brought in the pathos. He had the pathos and the comedy, and actually Tony did too, because Tony brought the comedy, but Tony's pathos were the scenes where he's like, I don't know why I didn't stick with these guys. You know, the regret. He had the regret, and I think that regret comes through in Filmage as well. So yeah, those two really, you know, they were the ones that saved that movie for me, for sure.
So were they always like that back in the days? Like, you know, the humor part. I mean, could you handle their humor? You know?
Yeah. Well, Tony, I mean, he's just so kind of upfront with you. I mean, if he has something to say that's maybe that's denigrating to you, that's kind of like, hey, nice shirt, you know, or whatever, he'll say it, you know. I mean, and you know, so he's very direct is the word I'm thinking of, and so I think that when I saw him back at the Riot Fest when we played Milo Goes to College, it's like same old Tony, you know. He had some comment to say about some funny comment to say about, you know, I don't know, my shoes or my shirt or whatever. But he, you know, he's such a smart guy too. I mean, and he's had such an interesting life. But yeah, I mean, he was a character. He was just, you know, he and Bill together, just, man, they just brought so much personality to the band.
Do you still strive for all?
Yeah, I think the thing is it's like I said, you challenge yourself, and part of challenging yourself is discovering new things to achieve all in, new things in which to achieve all. So, you know, like I said, I'm playing ukulele a lot. I'm recording ukulele songs on ukulele, and you know, I just try to go for all that way. And it's, you know, it's part of all is just really just trying to kind of not stagnate. And so that's, you know, during these COVID times, it's so easy to stagnate. I'm trying my best to not stagnate. We all have so much kind of like time to kind of sit and stare at the walls. And I feel like I don't want to just sit and stare at the walls. I want to create stuff.
Did you write the all logistics with Bill together, or like it was just he?
Well, I think he came up with most of them, but we all, like, I contributed a few. I can't even remember which ones I contributed, but it was kind of his concept, you know, that we would have this like this kind of like, you know, Moses on the mountaintop kind of a thing, you know, and I tried to give it my best kind of a preacher. I had to give it the preacher treatment as best I could. But yeah, I think he probably that song's about, you know, 90% him, just because he really, you know, the concept of all was something that I talked about Pat, him and Pat going fishing, and that was where the all thing came from, because they'd be like fishing and filling. What they do is they'd fish with these big nets, and they take the nets and they put the net in the water, and they just scoop out a bunch of fish and then dump them on the deck of the boat. And they just you'd fill up the boat with fish, and to the point where the boat's starting to sink down in the water, and and pretty soon the fish are, you know, almost overflowing over the side, and you can't really put any more fish in if your boat's going to sink. And Bill would be like, I think we should stop, Pat. And he's like, no, all. Like, I want all the fish. So that was where all came from. You know, it's like all. And so, of course, he was on amphetamines at the time. Yeah, so that's kind of where all started. I just think he felt like this is a cool concept, you know, and let's you know, it's kind of fun. We're all very, obviously, we don't have any problem making fun of religion. It's a religion, but it's our own kind of religion, and
yeah,
you know,
it's cool.
It's you know, I think it's fun. It's a fun thing to do.
You always perform some all songs, like squeeze one all songs to your set back in the days, you know. So was there any release that there's an all song but you singing in it?
Oh yeah, I mean, we've done some of that cross-pollination stuff. When we recorded Everything Sucks, I did one of Chad's songs, Silence, I believe. I sang a version of Silence, and yeah, so there's been songs like that where we'll do Descendents versions of it. Well, in fact, I mean, everyone's maybe aware that Everything Sucks, many of the songs on Everything Sucks were originally all songs, right? I mean,
yeah, true.
they were written for an all record, and they said, well, I came in with some songs of my own and said, hey, you guys, what do you think of these? And they said, these are cool. Do you want to see what we got? We got these songs that we were gonna do with Chad, but let's do them with you. And so we did. That's how we did Everything Sucks. And then they went back and did all after that. I mean, we did a Descendents record, then they did an all record after that. So it was all there were no hurt feelings or anything like that. But yeah. So we've done a fair amount of that. I think. I mean, there are certain all songs that I'm pretty tailor-made for, and then there's others that I can't do. Like, I can't do Shreen for the life of me.
What do we do?
Yeah, it's like I can't do it. I sang backup on the record, but when I've tried to sing it as the lead voice, I just like so yeah, it's
but
certain,
your version of She's My Ex is really good, I guess. I mean,
yeah, that's a song, boy. You know, it's hard to mess that one up. It's such a great great
Yeah.
classic song, and it's in the right range. It's kind of in a good range for me, and so I've definitely enjoyed singing that one.
To get that conversation about like the not Milo thing, like Scott, people always like come up to you like, I wish you were still in the Descendants. Did you still get that kind of conversation to this day?
Yeah, well, yeah. I think the thing is when all started out, they immediately became my favorite band. I mean, I was, when they, even with Smalley in there, like they start with Smalley, and it was such a natural extension of what we were doing. And, they're such great songwriters that of course it's going to become my favorite band. And even when they switched singers, it didn't change the matter for me. I just loved them all through that whole period. And so when people would come up and say, oh, you should get back together because there's this, all's not as good. I go, it's you don't know what you're saying, man. It's like a people, they get locked into who the singer is, or they get locked into a particular style, and the thing about all is that they were taking a more melodic and almost prog take on what the Descendents were doing.
Yeah, and crazy guitar riff.
Yeah. But I mean, we were, it's not that crazy if you realize that the last record, the all record that we make, the Descendents all record, had a lot of that prog stuff on there as well. So it's kind of like that to me, why it was a natural extension to what we were doing. But yeah, people, I found it to be frustrating because people would say stuff like that, and I go, well, you're just missing the boat about all. You're not grasping what they're trying to do, people need to kind of just view it as music and divorce it from some kind of like legacy or some kind of past history. And then that's because, I mean, basically, the Descendants, we had the history, we had the legacy, but all had the chops, all had the music, all had the great songwriting. And that's kind of, for me, is what really mattered in the end. So
hoping that you will play Dot, someday.
Yeah.
That's a perfect song.
I can do that.
I love that song.
Yeah, that's a great song. My favorite song on that record was Nothing by
When
Carl.
you get there, nothing makes you
love
wonder
that.
why. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about my favorite all song of all time, really. I love that song. And I've done that one live with them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, there was this one gig where All was playing in New Jersey, and Chad had gotten sick and gotten laryngitis, and Bill called and said, do you think you just sub in? Because we don't want to cancel this gig. And I was living in Wisconsin. So he said, we're going to fly you from Wisconsin out to New Jersey, and you're going to do an all show. This was like 1994 or thereabouts, 1994, I'm going to say. And I said, yeah, it sounds like a fun time, And so I go out there and they say, well, Bill said, well, we're going to do mostly all songs, but we'll throw some Descendants songs in there. And I said, cool. Testimony to how big of a fan I was of all. I knew all the stuff. So we did Nothing, and we did some of the Smalley era, and I did Nothing, and that was, and then I did Shreen, and that's where I realized that I never want to sing Shreen again. So yeah, I've had moments where I've kind of impersonated an all singer, which is kind of fun.
How's the crowd of that show? I mean, like, they probably didn't realize, like, oh my God, it's Milo. I said it.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I somewhere along the way it got leaked out, and
I see.
So there was a bit of a buzz, and so I went on stage and people realized, okay, that's not the normal all singer, that's Milo, and so that made it fun. I mean, it was all kind of like a fun time because I was kind of like coming out of the woodwork a little bit, and I think everyone really appreciated it, obviously. So
sorry about Orgo Fart.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I mean, I think so. We had the song "Enjoy,"
yeah.
and or I should say, I brought the song "Enjoy" in. Actually, Dougie wrote the music, and so he had the music, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to write these lyrics about farting over it," and they were like, "Okay, yeah, whatever." So that became the song "Enjoy," and then when it came time to record it, we actually needed we wanted to have fart songs on the Joy. It's a song about farting, so yes, you got to have some fart songs. So we could have like gotten some samples, or we could have gone like with our mouth, or whatever. But Bill says no, they have to be real. They have to be real farts, and so so that was it. We all kind of like said, well, we got to do it. We got to go to the Mexican food place right around the corner.
The Alfredo's one? No,
this wasn't Alfredo's, because this was in Venice, California.
So it's different.
Yeah. So, but I said, I know of a Mexican food place right around the corner, and that's going to be what's going to make the magic happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so, sure enough, we went to the Mexican food place and let it all percolate inside. Wait, and then the guy that was recording us, the recording technician there, Richard, I forget his last name, but his name was Richard. He was watching this whole thing happen. Like, wait. So you're gonna go eat at the Mexican food place, and then you're gonna come back, and we're gonna sit around and wait for gas to emerge. And we say, yeah, that's what's gonna happen. And then I'm gonna record you. Yeah, then you're going to record us. So we recorded those farts for the Enjoy song, but then we had a bunch of extra farts, kind of bonus. They're bonus farts.
Bonus farts.
Yeah. So really, you can think of Orgo fart as really the bonus farts that got put in there as well. So I think a large part of Orgo fart is farts left over from recording Enjoy, but then I think there's also some stuff in there about that where Bill put in, they had some telephone recording messages, for message recording, where they left the outgoing message, and it was like Doug just being a complete kind of lunatic. So that was that, and they made a song out of it. So yeah.
Did you guys ever play it live?
No. No. And the thing about it is we would play Enjoy live, and we would always be like, God, this needs to have real farts on it. But you go on stage, and what are you gonna do? You can't just kind of go and eat a bean burrito every day for the rest of your life. Well, we got to play the song, so you better go eat your bean burrito. So it became like farting on command was not really in the cards for us.
Yeah.
And so what we did instead is we had Ray, a guitar player at the time. He had a foot pedal that allowed him to trigger a sample, and so we had farts that were sampled farts that he would, and he'd stomp on this foot pedal, and it would like make. That's the best we could do. It was still canned farting as opposed to live. So but I mean the other thing about it is if you tried to do live farts every night, your mic would not be in good shape after that. And so I think Bill was also looking out for my best interest. Like, no, if I have him farted in the mic every night, or if I have him put the mic to someone's ass every night and fart it's not a good thing. He actually took the mic from me once. This is not that long ago, maybe even only 5 or 10 years ago, where in the middle of his show, he just said, "Oh, pass me your mic," and I passed him the mic, and then he farted on it.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and then he immediately looked horrified, like, "What have I done?" And after the show, he was like all apologizing to me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have farted into your mic. It's just, it's kind of like, leaving a bit of your ass on someone else's mic. So he's apologetic about it. But.
And so it's such an honor to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Great. Well, I'm glad I finally got to talk to, Indonesia.
Yeah.
You're the first. So
To me,
and like I said, I hope we can come out there, soon.
yeah.
I've heard that it's a really wild scene. I've heard it's a really, for punk rock, it's really, pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard about the NoFX story?
No, but they're actually some of the people who said, "Hey, you guys should go play Indonesia." So I think it may be related to that. Like they must have had such a great time or something, or
Yeah. There's always this rumor, like, punk bands will never come again to Indonesia because of NoFX,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think I can ask Mike about it. He can tell me all about it.